Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Thursday, September 4th, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. We have a busy show for you tonight. In just a few minutes, I'll be joined in studio by Congressman Jerry Nadler, who announced earlier this week that he will not be seeking re-election next year. That move sets up a major race for a highly coveted seat to represent Manhattan's West Side and East Side as well. You don't want to miss that conversation. But first, we're going to kick things off with the latest in the race for mayor and the drama that has continued over reports and speculation that the White House may be offering Mayor Adams a job if he should drop out of the re-election campaign. Adams insists that he is staying in the race despite a new revelation that he met with a top White House official while in Florida earlier this week. Our Kelly Mena joins me now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. There may be some twists and turns left in this competitive mayoral race leading up to November. Speculation over how much longer and whether Mayor Adams will drop his bid for re-election continue to dog him today. Those questions are sure to increase over the next coming days as new reports and New York One was able to confirm he met with a top White House administration official earlier this week.
I've never asked for a job with HUD. I've never been promised a job with HUD. I have not communicated with the president.
Mayor Adams continued to deny reports that he is being eyed for a position with the Trump administration. But a source confirmed to New York One that Adams met with White House Special Envoy Steve Witkoff while in Florida on Monday. That comes after multiple reports on Wednesday revealed the Trump administration was considering offering a job to Adams to help stop Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani from winning the race for mayor. Adams shot that notion down completely Thursday morning.
What I must do is what I've always have said. Stay focused. Don't be distracted by all this sensationalism. Run our city, keep it safe, and run for re-election.
Also, reportedly being eyed for a White House post is Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa.
No way, under no circumstance, you can't bribe me, you can't lease me, you can't rent me, you can't motivate me to lead this race.
The bombshell reporting has rocked the mayor's race with less than 2 months until Election Day. The news has also renewed pressure on the other candidates to consolidate their support in a bid to defeat the Democratic nominee.
If you believe the existential threat is Mamdani, which I do, well, then what should be most important is defeating Mr. Mamdani. So if you're not the strongest candidate, step aside.
Ex-Governor Andrew Cuomo said he hasn't had any communication with Trump or any of the president's advisors, despite the latest reporting leaving Cuomo as a potential candidate to take on Mamdani one-on-one. He said he doesn't want Trump meddling with his bid.
I don't want him involved in anything to do with my race. What Eric Adams chooses to do is up to Eric Adams. What Curtis Sliwa chooses to do is up to Curtis Sliwa.
Meanwhile, Mamdani reacted to the reporting by railing against any candidate willing to work for the Trump administration amid increased immigration enforcement and targeting of the city.
Looking to all of those horrific things that are happening and choosing to work with that administration with the intent of subverting the will of Democratic primary voters here in New York City, it's an affront to our democracy.
Amid all the speculation, Adams on Thursday looked to build momentum back for his uphill re-election bid by getting the endorsement of Muslim leaders. But some of those in attendance claimed they were there to celebrate the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad and not for political reasons.
We just came in the love of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Not
This
to
is it.
endorse the mayor.
No, not at all.
Not a political event. This is Maulid. It's a prophet birthday of 1500 years. We only celebrated that.
And a campaign spokesperson for the mayor said that that event earlier today was both to celebrate the Prophet Muhammad's 1500th birthday and also an endorsement event, Errol.
Well, it sounds like not everyone was there for both of those reasons.
Right. And it sounds like we got a copy of an invitation that was given to some of those in attendance. It didn't mention anything about an endorsement, but it did mention a celebration of a birthday on there. So some feel like they were maybe duped or given a different pretense to be in attendance earlier.
So, speaking of being duped, I mean, okay, the mayor didn't speak with the president. If he spoke with the president's special envoy carrying a message from the president, it's kind of highly misleading to say, well, I didn't speak with anybody at the White House.
Completely. And actually, I asked him that yesterday at an unrelated event. I said, not speaking directly to the president, but did you speak to anybody in the Trump's orbit? And he said, even if he had those conversations, he wouldn't tell me the details of them. So that made me think that there's a door open there, and that could have possibly happen, and now we know that that did, Errol.
Word games. It's like playing word games. So let me bring in our Bobby Kuza. While all of this is going on, there's also a campaign going on, and there's been talk about whether or not there will be debates.
Well, what was interesting was today you heard Andrew Cuomo challenge Zohran Mamdani to debates. He said he wants a debate in every borough, and you know how this goes, right? Whoever is behind in the race is the one who wants to debate anytime, anywhere, any place. So this is Cuomo challenging Mamdani. Mamdani said he's just going to do the 2 officially sanctioned debates, one of which, of course, will be on New York 1. And, you know, he's going to talk to New Yorkers in town halls and on sidewalks and so forth. And then later in, I think it was in an interview with the New York Post, Mamdani said, well, I'll just debate Donald Trump. Why don't we cut out the middleman and go straight to Trump? Because, of course, Mamdani's reaction to all of this has been to try to tie Trump to Cuomo and tie Trump to Eric Adams and say that they are all conspiring in order to prevent him from winning in November, despite the fact that he is the duly elected Democratic nominee.
Well, and I mean, that's not entirely wrong, and it points to the results of the president getting involved in the race. People will, you know, you're not going to do it quietly. If you come into the race, all of a sudden you become part of the cast of characters, right?
Exactly, and not only that, but, you know, to the extent that this is supposed to benefit Andrew Cuomo, right? Because presumably, if Donald Trump is forcing Eric Adams out of the race, it's in order to clear the field for Andrew Cuomo. That then creates the dilemma for Andrew Cuomo. Do I accept this support? How do I? And he has been trying to distance himself from Trump. He said he won't accept his endorsement today. You know, he said he doesn't want him having to do anything with the race. But, I mean, look, he wants the field to be cleared. If Trump is going to clear the field for him, it's accomplishing the same objective. So if Trump does get involved, it only stands to benefit Andrew Cuomo, and then that opens up a whole new can of worms.
And the assumption here all the way through strategically is that if it's a one-on-one race, that Cuomo can beat Mamdani. But that's not entirely certain, right? I mean, the two were in the same race just a few months ago.
Errol, I was just about to bring that up, the primary race. And guess who the loser was in that contest? Andrew Cuomo, and he got beat handily. If that's a second repeat of what we're going to see in November, obviously Mamdani has this advantage. It's also interesting that Trump wants to put his thumb on the scale in this particular race because we know that New York City is heavily Democratic, and many voters here are not voters that like Trump. So him clearing the field in any type of way could actually end up hurting Cuomo or anybody else's chances in this race. So whatever calculations Cuomo wants to make, not sure they're in alignment with what voters are feeling here in the city.
And while Curtis Sliwa, I guess, is not leaving the race, he seems to have made that clear, he's also not necessarily asking for help from the president.
That's right. I mean, even though he's a Republican and he's not, you know, an anti or never Trumper, he's made clear he will politely tell the president that I only have my eye on one job, and that's the mayor of the city of New York. But he's not looking for his endorsement, his support. And Curtis Sliwa was unequivocal today that he is not getting out of this race. And as long as Curtis Sliwa was in the race, even if he gets 12%, 15% of the vote, that could affect the outcome, right? I mean, that could potentially help Zohran Mamdani because those few points that Andrew Cuomo isn't getting could end up being the difference in the race.
Okay, we shall see. Thanks very much for that analysis, Bobby. Thank you, Kelly. We are going to take a break now, and when we come back, we've got a packed show for you. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was grilled by congressional lawmakers today over turmoil at federal health agencies. We'll explain why. Later on tonight, after announcing his retirement earlier this year, Congressman Jerry Nadler would join me in studio to reflect on his more than 3 decades on Capitol Hill. And then our New York's Big Bet series will continue when I'm joined by one of the developers behind a bid for a casino on Coney Island. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
You want to wiggle the hips a little bit. Keep your left arm straight.
Elbow in, head down.
Adjust your grip. Visualize the approach.
That was good. Next time we'll go out on a real course.
Next time?
It's all about connecting with the fastest wireless speeds from Spectrum. And internet customers get one mobile line included for 1 year.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s. But showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. President Donald Trump's Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., faced tough questions at a tense Senate hearing today. Members of the Senate Finance Committee from both parties grilled Kennedy about his push to limit vaccines and the turmoil at the Centers for Disease Control, including the firing of its director. Kevin Fry in our Washington, D.C. bureau joins me now with the details. Good evening, Kevin.
Yeah, good evening, Errol. It's kind of rare that we see a bipartisan approach in criticizing the Trump administration, but there certainly was a fair amount of that today from a handful of Republican senators who joined with Democrats and really probing RFK Jr., particularly on the issue of vaccines. And of course, there were various avenues they had to approach here, whether it was concerns over access to the new COVID vaccine that's coming out this fall, questions of canceling funding research for future vaccines, and of course the firing of that advisory panel that does work on vaccines. Now, one of the individuals in particular that we were keeping an eye on was Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. He was one of those key votes when RFK Jr. was confirmed, who was kind of a holdout until the very end. He said that he got some concessions from RFK in the realm of making sure that vaccines would be available, that he would stand by them, that he wouldn't, throw too much skepticism on him. Here is some of that exchange, because Cassidy has been caught in a bit of a pickle with some egg on his face in recent weeks. Here's some of their conversation during the hearing.
Do you agree with me that the president deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed?
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. That was phenomenal.
So let me ask you, but you just told Senator Bennett that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID.
Wait,
that was a statement.
I did not say that.
I would say effectively we're denying people vaccine.
Senator Cantwell.
You're wrong.
So that was just one of many moments that we saw here today, though arguably one of the more surprising wasn't even Cassidy. It was actually the second highest ranking Republican in the Senate, John Barrasso, who went so far as to express real concern over what RFK Jr.'s actions could mean for the availability and the access to things like the hepatitis V vaccine, to COVID vaccines. The list goes on from there, measles and so forth. Now, the question then becomes, is anything going to come of this? Obviously, this was a spectacle today. And perhaps one of the most revealing quotes came from Senator John Thune, who is the top-ranking Republican in the Senate. He was asked today if he had any concerns about RFK Jr. Did he have faith in his ability to do the job? And he said that what matters is that the president has confidence in him. Yes, Congress does have oversight, but seemingly the top Republican in the Senate doesn't have concerns because the president is confident in his HHS secretary.
So, I mean, Kevin, the Centers for Disease Control has been decapitated. The person that was hired a couple of months ago has been fired. 4 of her top deputies left with her, including people in charge of disease surveillance and other very serious matters. You're saying that the Senate Republican leadership is expressing no unified opinion about whether that matters? Why did they hold the hearing?
Well, I mean, look, this was kind of one of those hearings that does pop up on a regular basis where you have general oversight. But at least when it came to that remark from the top senator on the Republican side within the Senate, of course they are the majority, suggests that there's no further action. I mean, in theory, they could try to move to impeach. Obviously, that would involve the House also getting involved as well. That's just simply not going to happen. Could they try to pressure the White House to do more? Perhaps. They obviously have been calls for him to resign, predominantly from Democrats. But in terms of any notable action, it's hard to see where that goes from here.
Okay, thanks very much, Kevin. Meanwhile, the District of Columbia has filed a lawsuit to stop President Donald Trump's deployment of National Guard troops across the city, claiming that it violates federal laws banning the use of federal troops for domestic law enforcement. The White House has answered by arguing that the deployment is making D.C. safer and that troops could soon be sent to additional U.S. cities. Spectrum News Washington reporter Rena Diamante has the latest in this report.
For weeks, members of the National Guard have been stationed across the District of Columbia, posted at landmarks, metro stations, and the National Mall. On Thursday, local leaders said no more. The federal lawsuit filed by D.C.'s elected attorney general calls President Donald Trump's deployment of the National Guard unwanted, harmful, and illegal. In a statement, the D.C. attorney general said no American city should have the U.S. military, particularly out-of-state military, who are not accountable to the residents and untrained in local law enforcement, policing its streets. It's D.C. today, but could be any other city tomorrow. We filed this action to put an end to this illegal federal overreach.
President Trump has used D.C. residents as props in a political play to showcase his own power. While the president claims that federal control of D.C. is necessary to combat crime, his own actions severely jeopardize public safety in the district.
President Trump summoned the National Guard to the nation's capital last month after declaring a public safety emergency, even though violent crime in the city is down significantly from last year. In a statement to Spectrum News, a White House spokeswoman said, "This lawsuit is nothing more than another attempt at the detriment of D.C. residents and visitors to undermine the president's highly successful operations to stop violent crime in D.C."
If you look at Washington, D.C., 3 weeks ago, it was the same or worse. And now it's considered a totally safe zone.
President Trump has said other major cities are up next, naming Chicago, New Orleans, and Baltimore as possible locations for the Guard's deployment, despite pushback from Democratic leaders there.
What President Trump is suggesting, moving into Chicago with troops without invitation or without approval by the local officials, is a serious constitutional mistake.
A National Guard official told the Associated Press that their orders to stay in the District of Columbia have been extended by President Trump through December. In Washington, Rena Diamante, Spectrum News.
It is time for a break now. When we come back, students return back to school today for the first day of the new year and a new cell phone ban. The details are straight ahead. Stay with us.
What do you love about going to school?
Seeing my friends and hanging out with them and learning new things.
What do you not like about school? Be honest.
Having to wake up early.
I just woke up in a good mood. I was just really ready for school, got my hair done. Everything went really smooth this morning.
This election year is all about New York City. There are 51 council seats up for grabs, races for our next city comptroller and the next public advocate.
Plus, an unprecedented race for mayor. That puts the power in your hands to decide who will run our city.
Our team of political experts will be covering every angle of this election to keep you informed on how it could affect you, so you can feel confident with your decision at the polls.
Stay with Spectrum News New York 1 for Decision 2025, exclusively on Spectrum.
Okay, why Lucas should have a phone. 1, you can always get in touch with me. 2, think of all the new photos I can send you.
Get to the money.
Plus, with Spectrum Internet, we get 1 unlimited mobile line included for a year. I even used the Spectrum Savings Calculator. And you know what it said? Savings.
That was actually pretty good.
He's impressive.
Internet customers get 1 mobile line included for 1 year. From Spectrum.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. It's the first day of classes for the city's public school students and the first day that the statewide cell phone ban takes effect. 7 new schools are also opening across the city, including a high school that will allow students to earn an associate's degree from a historically black university. New York 1 education reporter Jillian Jorgensen spoke with students all day and has this story.
At HBCU Early College Prep, it wasn't just the first day of the school year. It was the first day of school ever. This is one of 7 brand new schools which opened in the 5 boroughs Thursday.
I feel like this is like making history right now. Like, I'm going to be the first class to graduate. I'll be the first one to bring on the legacy.
The school in Jamaica will allow students to earn college credits and even an associate's degree from Delaware State University, an historically black university, where students will be guaranteed admission after graduation. It's part of a promise from the Adams administration to provide more accelerated high schools in historically underserved areas like Southeast Queens.
I'm actually kind of nervous, but I'm really excited because this is something that I've always wanted to do, like have this kind of experience.
Many of the students enrolled say they have always wanted to attend an HBCU, historically black college or university, after graduating high school.
I'm optimistic about it because I feel like it can bring a lot of great opportunities, especially for us as young black and brown children, navigating the world where there's not a lot of places for us to feel seen or heard.
But the new school wasn't the only big change for these students.
There's also a cell phone ban going into effect today. How are you feeling about that?
Not too happy.
With a statewide ban on cell phones in classrooms in effect, students will have to be separated from their smartphones for the entire school day, including at lunch.
I think it'll be easier for us to focus and like keep our attention span without having like electronic distractions. But as a child, from our perspective, I guess not so good. It's gonna be hard for us because like everyone loves their phone. But I feel like without my phone, I'll be way more focused.
It's up to each school to determine how to collect and store phones during the day. The education department says roughly 800 are using pouches like those made by Yonder, which allow students to hold on to their phone but makes it impossible to access them. Another roughly 600 schools are using a Dropbox or storage bin system where phones are collected at the start of the day. And just over 500 schools are collecting the devices in the classroom. Schools Chancellor Melissa Aviles Ramos says she'll be checking in with principals, teachers, and students in the coming days.
We want to hear from every different member of our community on how this rollout
status going. Some parents have worried about reaching their children in the event of a school shooting or other crisis. But the mayor says the city has worked to add more security measures to schools and that parents can always reach their children.
Mommy did not text me during an emergency. She called the school. And so we will survive without cell phones in our school. It is hurting our children. All the data is showing that. It is hurting our children.
In Queens, Jillian Jorgensen, New York 1.
It is time for a break. Coming up, Congressman Jerry Nadler is stepping down after more than 3 decades on Capitol Hill. We will reflect on his time in office and much more when he joins me in studio in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
My time at New York 1 has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Burton.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
Watch this. I can make it hotter, I can make it colder. Hotter, colder from my phone. Smart birdhouse. Yes. Even the birds have Spectrum Wi-Fi. Who likes treats? You do. That's right, yes you do. Very impressive, son. And one more. Nice.
Can I change colors?
Launch party mode. Yeah.
It's all about connecting with the fastest, most reliable internet from Spectrum.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
I'm Gerald Nadler from the state of New York.
Why should we put the taxpayers' money at risk for Donald Trump's finances?
Let me emphasize this bill is fiscally responsible and balances the needs of our 9/11 heroes.
The president's response to repeatedly lie to the American people and ignore all congressional subpoenas is immoral.
It has not even been 24 hours since the last mass shooting, and who knows how long until the next one. Too soon? My friends, what the hell are you waiting for?
The House Judiciary Committee has voted articles of impeachment against the president.
We believe in free speech, but we don't believe in hate speech.
Thank you for being with me, New York, and onward to Democratic victory in November.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was a look back at some of the highlights of Congressman Jerry Nadler's career. He's a liberal stalwart on Capitol Hill, and he's been there for more than 3 decades. Earlier this week, Congressman Nadler announced that he will not be seeking re-election next year, saying that his decision is driven by the need for generational change at the Democratic Party's leadership. His exit likely sets up a busy race to succeed him. Jerry Nadler represents the 12th Congressional District, which currently spans Manhattan's Upper East Side and West Side, as well as much of Midtown. Congressman Jerry Nadler joins us now to talk about his decision not to seek re-election and much more. Welcome back to the program. Always good to see you.
Good to see you.
When did you start thinking about making this your final term?
I started thinking about it a few months ago, and I figured 2 things. Number one, it was a nice round number. I will have served 50 years in public office, 34 in the Congress. 16 in the state assembly. And the example of President Biden showed me, I think, that we really need generational change in the Democratic Party, and I might as well proceed with that.
Are you planning to resign before the end of the term?
No.
Among other things, it would give your successor a little seniority.
No.
No.
No, I wouldn't do that. My successor will be chosen in the primary and the general election.
Got it. You are an attorney, Fordham Law School graduate. You've made a specialty of fighting for civil liberties and constitutional rights. What parts of the Constitution in particular do you think are most in need of defense right now?
Well, a number of them. One is civil liberties. I mean, they're going the way they're going after immigrants, or the constitutional spending power, the way they're refusing to spend money despite the Anti-Impoundment Act of 1974. They're subverting the entire role of Congress. And now this newest outrage where they just bombed a speedboat, which they asserted was carrying terrorists. So you're the judge, jury, and executioner when you're not in a time of war. For that, the president ought to face criminal charges.
You look at these things very differently from some of your colleagues in the majority. Do they, at a minimum, at least understand or share your understanding of why Congress has to defend its prerogatives on spending, war powers, and other kind of key constitutional provisions?
Some of them do, but they're so thoroughly cowed by Trump's strength in the Republican Party that there's very little, and there seems to be no political courage. So they essentially do whatever he asks.
The district is differently shaped now, but for most of your career, it ran down the west side, jumped over into Brooklyn, and included Borough Park and Bay Ridge, which are very different politically and culturally than of the west side or the West Village and Chelsea and so forth.
Yep.
How did you make all of that work?
Well, you met with a lot of people, and you see what their needs are, and it's not just their needs in representation, but their needs in the community, and you try to meet them. And a lot of things, they were the same. I mean, it was probably the most heavily Jewish district in the country. And that was true of the Upper West Side, that was true of the Village, and it was true of Borough Park. And even Bensonhurst is a mixed Italian-Jewish, but certainly Borough Park. And so there were certain issues on which there was a commonality there. Very
interesting. There's a certain symmetry or perhaps irony here when you talk about the next generation, because what I had always heard about was how in the 1960s you founded West Side Kids, focusing on, sort of revitalizing local Democratic Party politics around a lot of national issues, including fighting against the Vietnam War. You had a lot of students from Hunter and Stuyvesant, NYU, Columbia, your alma mater. Right. And you actually were when you were in the assembly, you were actually a DSA member, or the predecessor organization.
I was.
So do you
till the mid 90s, I think, when suddenly it occurred to me that I don't really believe in common ownership. I believe in regulated capitalism, so I dropped my membership.
Oh, interesting. Okay, on principle, as always, right. So do you see anything of yourself in this new wave of activists who are trying to sort of, press the issue, make some changes?
Yeah, I mean, it's every wave of activists is somewhat different, but yeah, I look at the young activists coming up, and they very much remind me of myself and some of my friends. I mean, we were a little younger, I think. I mean, we started, the so-called West Side Kids were started by, believe it or not, myself and Dick Morris and a couple of other people in the summer between high school and college.
Right. Dick Morris, the famous political consultant, helped you run your campaign for class president at Stuyvesant,
That's right?
So you guys have been
and
at
Dick
this for a
Gottfried
while.
wrote the campaign literature for that campaign.
Dick Gottfried, right? Okay, so you got into this early. You certainly stayed with it for quite a while.
Yeah.
One of the things that always stood out for me was that while you represented the World Trade Center back on 9/11, you also voted against the Patriot Act, which was one of the main legislative responses to that terrorist attack. That must have been a little hard to do.
No, That was a demagogic anti-civil liberties response from the Bush administration. And what the real response was and should have been, and I spoke along with Carol Maloney, I fought for this for years, was government paying for the healthcare needs of all the people who were poisoned by the toxic dust. And it took us 10 years. We finally passed the Zadroga Act in 2010. And I remember two things. I remember that right after 9/11, within a day, the mayor Giuliani was saying that the air was safe to breathe. I suspected not. And within 2 days, we knew for certain it wasn't. But he kept saying that because he thought, I assume he thought opening up Wall Street was more important than the health of the people who lived and worked down there. And I got together, we called it the Ground Zero Task Force, Elected Officials Task Force. I got together all the elected officials who represented the area, the city council, the state assembly, state senate. We formed a task force to help get food to people who were shut in. I mean, there were no stores and so forth. But we also were trying to, I was saying about the toxic, there's nothing they could do about it. They were there. We finally held hearings in 2003 in which Christy Todd Whitmore, who had been the EPA administrator, finally admitted that the air was toxic.
You of course, will always be associated with the idea of a cross-harbor rail tunnel, so that freight will go straight from the port of Newark in New Jersey, in New York, over to Long Island without tying up the city and all of the truck traffic that has been snarling us for decades. That didn't particularly happen, but is the dream dead? It's still a good idea.
Well, it's a good idea, and to put an amusing note on this, Mayor Hyland dug the first piece of dirt, shovelful of dirt for it in 1922. This has been going on a long time, but hasn't made much progress.
Okay,
I've spent a lot of time on it, but haven't gotten very far.
Well, you got to pace yourself on these things, right? It's only been 100 years. Finally, you led the impeachment efforts against Donald Trump in his first term. Any regrets about how that played out?
Yes. My regret is that we didn't succeed. My particular regret is that after the second impeachment, the first impeachment was bad enough, where he said to President Zelensky of the Ukraine, yes, we'll give you, I'll deliver the arms Congress voted for you if you do me a favor and announce an investigation of Joe Biden. Don't have to do anything, just announce an investigation to smear his name. That was bad enough. That was an abuse of power. But the second, where there was an insurrection, which he triggered, the first attempt to overthrow the United States government since the Civil War. And I really blame Mitch McConnell because he knew that the president was guilty. He said so on the Senate floor. He said the president is guilty, he did all this, but the criminal justice system exists. But he wouldn't get the votes to convict on the impeachment, which could have barred the president from running again, and we wouldn't have this whole mess and subversion of civil liberties and subversion of the Constitution we have now.
Right. Are you fundamentally optimistic about where things are right now?
I don't know. This country is in a very, very precarious position right now. Trump is playing the classic authoritarian playbook, the classic way of subverting democracy into a police state. So far, nothing is really stopping him, and I don't know where it's going to go.
Okay. On that note of caution, we want to wish you well. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.
We are going to take a short break now, and when we come back, advocates and state lawmakers rallied today to demand Governor Hochul reject 2 proposed gas pipelines here in New York. We'll bring you those details in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
If it's the theater you love, then we've got just the ticket. On Stage is your all-access pass to Broadway, off-Broadway, and the best live entertainment in the city. The interviews and backstage exclusives. All that's made On Stage the go-to source for entertainment for over 20 years. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for On Stage. Also available on the Spectrum News app. I'll see you at the theater, exclusively on Spectrum.
I'm kind of a deal hunter. I like to make sure we got the best deal.
We used a Spectrum savings calculator before. I learned that since we're existing Spectrum Internet customers, we get a mobile line for a year.
Having a line for a year would be amazing. I looked at you and I said, how is the savings so substantial?
Switch and save with one mobile line included with your internet service, backed by the Spectrum commitment to keep you connected.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Governor Kathy Hochul is facing mounting pressure from the Trump administration to approve and fast-track 2 gas pipelines in New York. Democratic lawmakers and advocates today continued their efforts to rail against those pipelines, arguing that they run contrary to the state's climate policy. Upstate political reporter Jack Arpey joins me now with more. Good evening, Jack.
Hey, Errol. Yeah, conversations around these 2 pipelines had faded, but recently ramped back up after conversations earlier this spring between Governor Kathy Hochul and President Donald Trump. It remains unclear what kind of deal, if any, was reached, but now environmental advocates are urging the governor, don't do it.
We can't do this in New York.
State lawmakers teaming up with environmental advocates Thursday to urge Governor Hochul and her administration to reject a renewed push for 2 gas pipelines, suggesting after meetings with the president earlier this year that the governor is poised to make a deal with Trump to the detriment of the state's climate policy.
They are not necessary. They will put us backwards on our goals.
State Senator Liz Krueger says the Trump administration has operated on a system of manipulating state policy to fit his agenda and is urging the governor to provide a firewall.
No better example for us than New York having to say, no, we're not going to approve pipelines we've already rejected on endless environmental grounds.
The fact that the Northeast pipeline has been rejected 3 times and the current process only kicked up after Hochul met with Trump is particularly bothersome for lawmakers like State Senator Michelle Hinchy.
No change to the project, no mind-blowing changes in science. Nothing has changed.
With talk of possible legislation to limit the ability for companies to continue submitting the same proposals after they've been rejected.
I'm certainly open to those discussions.
At some point, we have to draw the line and say, now you're just wasting resources and time.
Republicans in the state legislature unsurprisingly singing a different tune.
I would like to see the governor and the D.C. approve these pipeline projects.
Assemblyman Phil Palmisano argues the state needs an all-of-the-above approach to energy, including natural gas. Plus, he says the current status of natural gas being trucked to inaccessible areas is hardly environmentally friendly.
We need these pipelines to bring the gas to the market, to get them to these areas so they can have reliable, affordable, and dispatchable energy.
Ken Levitt, Senior Communications Advisor on Energy and Environment for Governor Hochul, told Spectrum News 1 the only commitment the governor has made is to work with anyone on new energy projects that follow state law. Saying in a statement, quote, as the White House rejects any new permitting of offshore wind projects and Republicans in Congress cut billions in subsidies for renewable energy, we'd hope these legislators and advocates would join the governor in pushing an all-of-the-above approach to ensure we keep the lights on for New Yorkers, while also prioritizing affordability and strong economic development. The governor has made it clear that all proposed projects must be reviewed impartially by the required agencies to determine compliance with state and federal laws.
And when asked about her meeting with the president, the governor indicated that no commitment was made, but the White House has disputed this, saying that the governor signaled she was willing to move forward if the Trump administration lifted a stop work order on an offshore wind project, which of course they have. Errol?
So now, Jack, the governor's getting pressure from all sides on this. What are the members of Congress saying about all of this?
Well, it's interesting because the DEC allowed a relatively short window for public comment on this. It actually ended a few weeks ago, and multiple members of Congress from New York urged the DEC to expand that period. They said there's perfectly relevant precedent for having a longer period. There are a lot of implications here, obviously a lot of opposition, but the DEC so far has not done so.
All right, thanks very much, Jack. We are going to take a break now, and when we come back, our New York's Big Bet series will continue when I'm joined by one of the developers of the Coney Island casino proposal. Stay with us. Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 on Spectrum News New York 1. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
My name is Gail, and we are in my showroom for Florist Fire Design House. Getting Spectrum set up for my business was extremely smooth. They had it set up within an hour, and I was online and ready to go and run my business. Spectrum helps me stay online. You know, I have to be able to be online at 5 a.m. when the market's open. Without Spectrum, it wouldn't be possible.
Get up to 4 months free when you bundle award-winning internet. Visit spectrum.com/business to learn more.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
We are back inside City Hall with another installment of our summer-long series, New York's Big Bet. We have spoken with several of the developers that are competing for 3 downstate casino licenses that will be awarded later this year. Tonight, we're going to take a look at a proposal to build a casino on Coney Island. The developers behind the plan include Thor Equities, the Chickasaw Nation, and Saratoga Casino. The proposal is set to create 4,500 permanent jobs and more than 4,000 construction jobs, with a commitment to set aside at least 25% of the jobs for Coney Island residents. The casino would include a 500-room hotel and 2,400-seat concert venue. Joining me now to talk more about the pros of this proposal, we've got Peter McEnany. He's the Executive Vice President of Thor Equities. Welcome to the program. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, is there a housing component to this or no?
No.
You're just talking about the actual entertainment
Just
district.
the entertainment complex. So
Yes.
the building's comprised, it's a 1.4 million square foot project, that the gaming floor is actually only 25% of the project. There's a 500 key hotel, as you mentioned. There's an entertainment venue. There's a convention facility that we think is a very strong component part of the project that will be bring small-scale conventions to southern Brooklyn, which doesn't exist today. And then there's a strong retail component as well.
And very important, you're not talking about changing the zoning of the area, right? Because it's already an entertainment and amusement
Correct.
district.
Coney Island, right now, the amusement district is zoned as an entertainment district. This is compatible with the New York City zoning, and we've gone through a ULURP process to demap some of the streets, to make them pedestrian streets at the end of the day.
You're talking about a $200 million community trust fund that to revive, uplift, and energize the area. What kind of projects would that go for?
Yeah, I mean, the community, the $200 million trust is something that we thought about early on, and we heard through number of conversations with different community stakeholders, how do you give something back to the community? And this was an idea that we came up with of how to put dollars in the hands of organizations and projects in Coney Island, right? It can be used for after-school programs, institutions, small-scale projects, boardwalk improvement, restroom improvements, those type of projects that will be governed, the trust will be governed by local politicians, local stakeholders, and they will decide where those funds are spent. So it truly is at the discretion of the people of Coney Island. One other thing that we've been thinking about, and through this process, talking to the community, is how do we do something else, right? And we've come up with and this is the first time I'm announcing this here tonight, we've come up with an idea to create a community investment fund where people can invest directly into the Coney Island project at a small scale, a minimum investment of $100, and put those dollars alongside our dollars in the project. And we think that's a great way, through community feedback in the process, that we can bring people and engage them in the project as well.
So if I write you a check for $100, and this is, you're describing it as an investment fund, what's my return on it? What happens?
It would be the same returns that we have as a project as a whole.
Okay, interesting. What kind of margins are you thinking about? I mean,
we think we're going to be very successful at the end of the day.
Okay, very interesting. And that's really more for buy-in. You don't need this capital.
No, it's purely a feedback we received from the community that people want to be part of the project, they want to be engaged, and we thought this was an opportunity to let people, local residents in Coney Island and Brooklyn, invest in the project.
A lot of numbers and a lot of different funds. I want to make sure we keep them straight. You're also talking about a fund that would go for public safety, for NYPD, correct, FDNY, EMS services.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the #1 thing through all of our conversations with local stakeholders through the time was make Coney Island a safer place, right? Right now, Coney Island's very seasonal, as we all know. Memorial Day to Labor Day, it's busy. There are people there. During the winter months, when there are less people, there's more crime. So how do you kind of enable the NYPD, EMS, FDNY to enhance their presence locally year-round? And the amount of people that will visit this facility, thousands of people a day, plus the enhanced patrolmen, will make Coney Island a safer place at the end of the day.
Well, what's the vision of how to get people there? I spoke with one of the critics, and one of the concerns I know you've heard is about transportation, that there are choke points to get onto what is basically a peninsula.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, transportation, similar to safety and crime, is one of our top priorities. And for our project to be successful, we need to solve the transit problem. And we've taken the approach with our consulting team to create a multimodal transit strategy, right? Coney Island today has great infrastructure. There are 4 subway lines that go to Coney Island. They're underutilized today. There's an express line that exists that used to have an F Express that went to Coney Island. Bring that back. Bring ferry service to Coney Island. Right now, ferries go to Rockaway. Why don't they stop in Coney Island? All of these things, once you create the critical mass of people there year-round, will demand infrastructure improvements that get people out of automobiles and onto mass transit, which is what all New Yorkers at the end of the day want to do.
Is there a technical issue with ferry service? I mean, I'm trying to think of ferries coming through sort of the seaside where there's like waves and real surf.
Right now, if you're standing in Coney Island, you watch the ferry fly by Coney Island and park in Rockaway.
Got it.
I think we could figure out a way.
Build a pier or
there's a pier that what's even better, there's a pier that exists, the Steeplechase Pier today. Bring the ferry there.
Okay, sounds very interesting. There's at least one representative, my understanding is that Alec Brooke-Krasny, the assemblyman, is just a hard no, just doesn't think it's a good idea. What else are you hearing from some of the stakeholders? I
mean, we've spent a lot of time in the community talking to electeds, local business owners, residents, and we think we put forward a very impressive project, and we look forward to working with the CAC through the process, hearing their feedback and incorporating things that they think are fit.
What kind of traffic, as far as people coming for the hotel, for the casino, for the entertainment? What kind of numbers are we talking about coming that don't normally come to Coney Island?
Our projections. I mean, during the summer, obviously, there's going to be people that come to the facility, but also enjoy the boardwalk. I think we really see our project bringing thousands of people a day to Coney Island that interact with Coney Island as a greater whole. And people that stay at the hotel, your family comes, they stay for the weekend, they go ride the Cyclone and all of those amusements that are there today, which are great institutions in New York City.
The next hearing is, I believe, next Wednesday, right?
Correct, September 10th.
And what are you looking to hear there? Are you still getting valuable input, or are people just kind of?
No, I mean, we've been at a number of hearings but even before the CAC process started. We look forward to hearing the residents speak on September 10th, hearing constructive feedback, and trying to incorporate that and work with the CAC through the process.
And so the casino license would enable a full table gaming. The Chickasaw Nation, I mean, they're already involved in some gaming elsewhere, right?
Yeah, so we are partners. The consortium we put together between the Chickasaw Nation, Saratoga, who runs a large casino in upstate New York, successfully in New York State, and Legends to manage the hospitality. And the Chickasaw Nation actually runs the largest casino in the country in Thackerayville, Oklahoma. Which is surprising. It's bigger than any casino in Vegas, but they've obviously
you mean physically bigger, or
it's 1 million square feet.
Wow. Okay. And what are they telling you about this? They like this as a possibility?
Yeah, we've been working obviously with our partners, and everyone's been a great partner to date, and for over 3 years on this project, and we're tremendously excited.
One of your critics that we did hear from showed a rendering of it. I guess it was their rendering. I don't know if it was your rendering, but for perspective for people, it's like it's going to sit there kind of right next to the Cyclone, right?
It's not next to the Cyclone. It's actually a few blocks west of the Cyclone, so it sits right across from the subway station and across from where Nathan's is. And this sits on 4 city blocks, 5 acres, and the existing amusements around it are remaining untouched. So you will still be able to ride the Cyclone. You'll still be able to ride the Wonder Wheel. All of those rides are meant to stay.
Oh, yeah, a few blocks west that's the parking lot, I mean, basically,
correct.
Right? Yeah. Okay, very interesting. And Thor Equities had this land all for a while now, right? You were trying to...
We've had the land for a number of years. We put together an assemblage, and we've been leasing it seasonally, right? The challenge with Coney Island from an economic development perspective is that most development does not make sense because it's a seasonal destination for commercial activities. And the amusement district is specially zoned for commercial and entertainment uses that is tough to survive for 3 months a year.
Got it. So this would be year-round entertainment. Okay, best of luck. We'll see how all of this works out. Thanks so much for coming by.
No, I appreciate the time.
Okay, that's going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
My name is Gail, and we are in my showroom for Florist Fire Design House. We are a full production wedding and event company that focuses on florals. Getting Spectrum set up for my business was extremely smooth. They were here the same day, had it set up within an hour, and I was online and ready to go and run my business. You know, I have to be able to be online at 5 a.m. when the market's open. And if I'm contacting a merchant via email or placing an order online, without Spectrum, it wouldn't be possible.
One more row.
Spectrum is reliable, they're committed, they're fast, and they really take care of me as a business owner. Last year, when the really bad hurricane came through, our internet stayed the entire time. One of the businesses down the street, she was like, wait a minute, how are you still online? And I was like, Spectrum, baby. You gotta get Spectrum.
Get award-winning internet for your business. Up to 4 months free when bundled. Visit spectrum.com/business to learn more.
This election year is all about New York City. There are 51 council seats up for grabs, races for our next city comptroller and the next public advocate.
Plus, an unprecedented race for mayor. That puts the power in your hands to decide who will run our city.
Our team of political experts will be covering every angle of this election to keep you informed on how it could affect you, so you can feel confident with your decision at the polls.
Stay with Spectrum News New York 1 for Decision 2025, exclusively